The church doors slammed shut in Niles's face, the sound echoing like a gunshot through the rainy Seattle afternoon. Security guards, hired by his own family, barred him from entering his father's funeral, their stern faces unmoved by his pleas as mourners inside whispered about the disgraceful son who'd been disowned. But 3 days later, in the sterile glow of the lawyer's office, the will was read aloud, and the room froze when Niles's name emerged as the sole heir to the multimillion-dollar estate. His father's final, unspoken apology that ignited a firestorm of betrayal and rage. Niles stared at the envelope in his trembling hands, the lawyer's words still ringing in his ears. To my son, Niles Sander Hayes, I leave everything. He hadn't spoken to his father in 5 years, not since that explosive night when Richard Hayes discovered Niles's secret relationship with Jamie, a quiet barista from the wrong side of town. The disownment had been swift and public. Richard, a pillar of conservative Seattle society, couldn't tolerate a gay son tarnishing the family name. Niles had built a new life from the ashes, scraping by as a freelance graphic designer, sharing a cramped apartment with Jamie in Capitol Hill. But now, this inheritance? It felt like a cruel joke, or worse, a trap. Jamie paced the tiny living room that evening, his dark curls disheveled from running his hands through them. Niles, this changes everything. We could finally afford that house we've dreamed about. Get out of this rat hole. His voice was laced with excitement, but Niles saw the undercurrent of fear in his partner's hazel eyes. They'd met 4 years ago at a coffee shop where Jamie worked, bonding over shared tastes in indie films and late-night talks about escaping their pasts. Jamie's family had kicked him out at 18 for coming out, forcing him into survival mode on the streets before he clawed his way to stability. Their love had been a sanctuary, but Niles knew the Hayes family wouldn't let this slide without a fight. The next morning, Niles's phone buzzed incessantly. Calls from his sister, Elena, and his uncle, Victor, both furious. Elena, the golden child who'd followed in their father's footsteps as a corporate lawyer, left a voicemail dripping with venom. You think you deserve this? After what you did to Dad? We're contesting the will, Niles. You won't see a dime. Victor, the family patriarch after Richard's death, was even blunter in his text. Stay away, or we'll make your life hell. Niles felt the weight of their judgment pressing down. The same homophobia that had fractured the family years ago now amplified by greed. He met Jamie at their favorite park bench overlooking Puget Sound, the water choppy under gray skies. What if they're right? Niles whispered, his voice cracking. What if taking this money means admitting I was wrong for loving you? Jamie took his hand, squeezing it tightly. No, Niles, your dad finally saw the truth. But we have to decide if fighting for it is worth the war. As they sat there, Niles's mind raced through memories. The secret dates, the thrill of stolen kisses, the agony of hiding from a world that still viewed them as outliers. Seattle was progressive on paper, but in elite circles like the Hayes family, acceptance was conditional at best. That night, over takeout Chinese, they mapped out a plan. Niles would hire his own lawyer, a no-nonsense advocate named Sarah who'd handled LGBTQ plus discrimination cases. This isn't just about money, Sarah said in their first meeting, her office cluttered with rainbow flags and legal tomes. It's about validating your identity against a system that tried to erase it. But as Niles signed the retainer, doubt crept in. Was he ready to drag Jamie into the spotlight, exposing their relationship to public scrutiny? The media would love a story like this. Disowned gay son inherits fortune. Family feud ensues. The first skirmish came swiftly. Elena filed a motion claiming undue influence, alleging Richard was coerced in his final days by outside pressures. Niles knew it was code for his sexuality, a veiled attack meant to paint him as manipulative. At the preliminary hearing, he sat rigid in the courtroom, Jamie's supportive presence in the back row a small comfort. The judge, an older man with a stern demeanor, peered over his glasses. This will be messy, Mr. Hayes. Are you prepared for the fallout? Niles nodded, but inside, turmoil brewed. He'd always been the peacemaker, the one who swallowed his pride to keep the family intact. Now, claiming what was his meant shattering that illusion forever. As weeks turned into months, the pressure mounted. Anonymous threats arrived in the mail, letters calling Niles a faggot thief, urging him to drop the claim or face consequences. Jamie's boss at the coffee shop fired him under suspicious circumstances, citing customer complaints that reeked of sabotage. "It's them," Jamie said bitterly, slamming the door after another fruitless job interview. "Your family is pulling strings." Niles felt guilt twist like a knife. His decision to fight was costing Jamie everything they'd built. In bed that night, they held each other, whispering promises of endurance. But Niles wondered if love could survive such relentless assault. One evening, Victor showed up unannounced at their apartment, his imposing frame filling the doorway. "Let's talk, nephew," he growled, pushing past Niles. Jamie stood protectively, but Victor ignored him. "Your father was weak at the end. Dementia made him sentimental. That will isn't valid." Niles's blood boiled. "Dad knew exactly what he was doing. He regretted disowning me." Victor laughed coldly. "Regret? He was ashamed of you until his last breath. Take a settlement, $500,000, and disappear." The offer hung in the air, tempting in its simplicity. Niles glanced at Jamie, whose eyes screamed refusal. "No," Niles said firmly. "I won't be bought off." Victor stormed out, vowing revenge. The confrontation left Niles shaken, questioning every choice. Had he been too stubborn? Was preserving their dignity worth the pain? As he lay awake, Jamie's steady breathing beside him, Niles realized this inheritance wasn't just money. It was a battle for his soul, forcing him to confront the internalized shame he'd carried for years. Society preached tolerance, but in the trenches of family and legacy, old prejudices died hard. Tomorrow he'd push forward, but tonight, the weight of it all threatened to crush him. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the trial began. Reporters scribbling notes from the back rows, turning Niles's private agony into public spectacle. Elena took the stand first, her polished suit and composed demeanor a stark contrast to the raw emotion in her testimony. "My brother abandoned our family values," she said, her voice steady but eyes flashing with betrayal. "Dad never would have left everything to him if he were in his right mind." Niles clenched his fists under the table, feeling the sting of her words like fresh wounds. Jamie, seated behind him, sent a reassuring text. "Stay strong. This is their fear talking." Sarah cross-examined Elena ruthlessly. "Isn't it true that your father amended his will 6 months before his death, after a private conversation with Niles's therapist?" Elena faltered, admitting the timeline but denying influence. The revelation planted seeds of doubt in the jury's minds. Perhaps Richard had sought reconciliation on his own terms. But Victor's testimony sealed the family's narrative. "Richard confided in me that Niles's lifestyle broke his heart. This will is a forgery of his true intentions." Niles wanted to scream that his lifestyle was simply love, but courtroom decorum silenced him. Outside, protesters gathered, some supporting LGBTQ+ rights with rainbow signs, others echoing conservative chants about traditional families. Jamie shielded Niles from the cameras as they left, but a particularly vicious reporter shouted, "How does it feel to profit from your dad's death after shaming him?" Niles froze, the question echoing his deepest fears. Back home, he collapsed onto the couch, tears streaming. "What if they're right, Jamie? What if I'm the villain here?" Jamie knelt beside him, cupping his face. "You're not. You're fighting for us, for every kid disowned like we were. But if it's too much, we can walk away." The thought lingered, a tempting escape. They'd survived on love alone before. Why risk it now? But Niles's resolve hardened. Walking away meant letting bigotry win, validating the prejudices that had scarred them both. The next day, he took the stand, his voice steady despite the knot in his stomach. "My father and I had our differences, but in the end, he chose forgiveness. This inheritance is his way of saying he was wrong." The jury leaned forward, captivated. Elena glared from her seat, her perfect facade cracking. Mid-trial, a bombshell dropped. Leaked emails from Victor to Elena, plotting to fabricate evidence of Niles's unfitness. Sarah presented them triumphantly. "This proves collusion. she argued. The judge admonished the family, but the damage was done. Public opinion shifted, headlines blaring, Hayes family scandal, homophobia or greed? Niles felt a surge of vindication, but it came at a cost. Old friends distanced themselves, and Jamie's job search stalled amid the notoriety. One night, after a grueling day in court, Jamie confessed his own doubts. "I love you, Niles, but this is tearing us apart. I'm scared we'll lose each other in the fight." They argued for hours, voices rising in the confined space of their apartment. Niles accused Jamie of cowardice. Jamie shot back that Niles was obsessed with proving a point. It ended in silence, each retreating to opposite ends of the bed. The next morning, Jamie apologized first, pulling Niles close. "We're in this together, but promise me we'll protect what matters most, us." As the trial dragged on, Niles uncovered more about his father's final months through private journals subpoenaed as evidence. Richard had attended secret PFLAG meetings, grappling with his regrets. One entry read, "I failed Niles. My pride cost me my son." Reading it aloud in court, Niles's voice broke, humanizing the man who'd once seemed unyielding. The jury's sympathetic nods gave him hope, but Elena's rebuttal was vicious. "Those journals are manipulated. Niles is playing the victim to steal our legacy." The strain manifested in small ways. Sleepless nights, skipped meals, frayed tempers. Jamie started volunteering at a local LGBTQ+ center, channeling his frustration into helping others. "It reminds me why we're fighting," he told Niles one evening, sharing stories of teens facing similar rejections. Niles joined him occasionally, finding solace in community amid isolation. But Victor escalated, hiring private investigators to dig up dirt on Jamie's past. His brief stint in foster care, a dismissed shoplifting charge from his homeless days. "They're trying to paint you as unstable," Sarah warned, "to discredit your relationship." Niles confronted Victor at a family gathering he wasn't invited to, crashing the event at the Hayes estate. "Why can't you let this go?" he demanded in the opulent living room where childhood memories mocked him. Victor sneered, "Because you're an abomination to everything we stand for." The words hung heavy, but Niles stood tall. "No, uncle. You're the one clinging to hate." He left with his head high, but the encounter left scars, reinforcing the moral chasm between them. As closing arguments approached, Niles reflected on the journey. The inheritance had become a symbol of redemption, resistance, and the steep price of authenticity. Win or lose, he'd paid dearly. Strained love, public humiliation, eroded trust. But in Jamie's unwavering support, he found the strength to press on, knowing some battles were worth the bloodshed. Closing arguments unfolded like a theatrical climax, Sarah painting Niles as the wronged heir reclaiming his dignity. "This isn't about money," she declared. "It's about a father's atonement for years of rejection based on who his son loves." The prosecutor for the family countered with emotional appeals to tradition, urging the jury to honor Richard's true wishes. Niles watched, heart pounding, as jurors filed out to deliberate. Jamie squeezed his hand outside the courthouse. "Whatever happens, we've already won by standing up." Hours stretched into days, the weight agonizing. Niles threw himself into work, designing logos for queer-owned businesses, channeling his anxiety into creativity. But nightmares plagued him, visions of his father's disappointed face, Elena's triumphant smirk. Jamie suggested therapy, and Niles relented, sessions uncovering layers of trauma from his closeted youth. "You've internalized their hate," the therapist said. "Forgiving yourself is key." It was a revelation, but applying it amid the storm proved challenging. Deliberations ended abruptly on the third day. The courtroom hushed as the foreman read the verdict. "We find in favor of Niles Sander Hayes. The will stands as written." Cheers erupted from supporters. Elena stormed out in tears. Niles sat stunned, Jamie pulling him into a hug. "It's over," Jamie whispered, but Niles knew it was just beginning. The real test was navigating the aftermath. News spread like wildfire. outlets hailing it as a landmark for LGBTQ plus inheritance rights. Offers poured in: book deals, interviews, speaking gigs. Niles accepted a few, using platforms to advocate for acceptance. "My story isn't unique," he said on a podcast. "Families tear apart over love every day. We need change." Jamie beamed with pride, but privately worried about the spotlight's toll. "Don't lose yourself in this," he cautioned. The family fractured irreparably. Elena cut all ties, moving to New York to escape the scandal. Victor, humiliated, suffered a minor stroke from the stress, blaming Niles in bitter rants to relatives. Niles sent flowers anonymously, a gesture of lingering compassion, but received no response. The inheritance arrived in tranches: stocks, properties, cash, transforming their lives overnight. They bought a cozy home in Queen and, with views of the city lights, a far cry from their old apartment. Yet prosperity brought new conflicts. Old acquaintances resurfaced, seeking favors or reconciliation laced with opportunism. Jamie grew suspicious, urging caution. Not everyone has pure motives. Their first major disagreement post-trial came over philanthropy. Niles wanted to donate a chunk to LGBTQ plus causes. Jamie argued for financial security first. "We've struggled too long to give it away recklessly," he said. The debate highlighted their differing scars. Niles's from rejection, Jamie's from poverty. One evening, at a gala honoring queer activists, Niles met Marcus, a charismatic lawyer who'd followed the case. Marcus flirted subtly, praising Niles's courage. Jamie noticed jealousy flaring. "Who was that?" he asked later, tone sharp. Niles dismissed it as networking, but the seed of doubt sprouted. Insecurities from their past resurfaced. Jamie's fear of abandonment, Niles's of inadequacy. A heated argument ensued. "You think I'd throw us away now?" Niles yelled. Jamie retorted, "Fame changes people." They reconciled with a weekend getaway to the San Juan Islands, reconnecting amid nature's serenity. Long walks on beaches, candid talks about fears. "I choose you every day," Niles affirmed. Jamie nodded. "And I you. But let's guard our peace." Back home, they established boundaries: no more galas without discussion, joint decisions on money. But society's underbelly reared again. Hate mail persisted, now with death threats. They installed security, the constant vigilance eroding their joy. Jamie quit his new job at a nonprofit, overwhelmed by scrutiny. "I feel like a sideshow," he confessed. Niles suggested couples counseling, where they unpacked the trial's lingering trauma. "You've both sacrificed so much," the counselor noted. "Acknowledge the grief." In a moment of vulnerability, Niles revealed a secret. During the trial, he'd considered settling to spare Jamie pain. "I almost betrayed us," he admitted. Jamie's eyes softened. "But you didn't. That's what counts." The confession strengthened their bond, a testament to love's resilience amid adversity. As months passed, Niles launched a foundation aiding disowned LGBTQ plus youth, channeling the inheritance into purpose. Jamie joined as co-director, finding fulfillment. Yet, whispers of the family's resentment lingered, rumors of Elena plotting an appeal. Niles braced for more battles, knowing peace was fragile. The price of victory? A forever altered life, marked by scars but illuminated by hope. Years blended into a rhythm of advocacy and quiet domesticity, but the past's shadows never fully receded. Niles and Jamie married in a small ceremony at their home, surrounded by chosen family, friends from the center, Sarah as officiant. Vows exchanged under string lights promised eternal support, a defiant stand against the forces that once sought to divide them. "Through every storm," Niles said, slipping the ring on Jamie's finger. Yet, even in joy, Elena's absence stung like an open wound. Post-honeymoon, challenges evolved. The foundation thrived, but managing it exposed Niles to burnout. Late nights reviewing grants, Jamie often alone. "You're giving everything to strangers," Jamie said one night, frustration bubbling. Niles snapped back. "This is for us, for what we endured." The argument escalated, revealing deeper rifts. Niles's guilt manifesting as overcommitment, Jamie's as withdrawal. They slept apart, the silence deafening. Reconciliation came via a surprise from Jamie, a weekend retreat focused on mindfulness. There, they confronted unspoken resentments. "I feel like the inheritance stole our simplicity," Jamie admitted. Niles nodded. "And I feel like I'm atoning for my family's sins." Insights gained mended fences, but the exercise underscored love's ongoing labor. Society's gaze intensified with a documentary offer about the case. Niles hesitated, fearing renewed exposure, but Jamie encouraged it. "Share our truth." Filming unearthed painful memories, interviews with former family members, archival footage of the trial. Victor, now frail, declined participation but sent a scathing letter. "You're profiting off our pain." Niles pondered responding, ultimately choosing silence as mercy. The doc premiered to acclaim, sparking national dialogues on inheritance and homophobia. Backlash followed, conservative pundits decrying it as woke propaganda. Online trolls targeted Jamie, dredging up his past. "We knew this would happen," Niles said, holding him as he scrolled through vitriol. Jamie's resolve wavered. "Is it worth it?" They decided yes, but fortified their privacy with unlisted numbers, gated community living. A pivotal twist arrived via an unexpected visitor. Elena, showing up at the Foundation's office. Disheveled, eyes red, she collapsed into a chair. "I need help," she whispered. Her marriage had crumbled under the scandal's weight. Career stalled. Niles listened, torn between empathy and caution. "Why come to me?" he asked. "Because you're the only one who understands loss." The confession humanized her, revealing her own struggles with their father's expectations. They talked for hours, unearthing shared grief. Elena admitted jealousy of Niles's freedom, her life scripted by duty. "I envied your courage." Niles offered support, a job at the Foundation conditional on therapy. She accepted, a tentative bridge forming. Jamie was wary. "Can we trust her?" Niles replied, "Everyone deserves a chance at redemption." The decision tested their unity, but Jamie relented, seeing Niles's growth. Integration wasn't seamless. Elena's presence stirred old wounds, awkward interactions at events. But gradual healing occurred, shared meals, honest conversations. One dinner, Elena apologized. "I was wrong to fight you. Dad's will was his way of fixing what he broke." Tears flowed, a cathartic release. Niles forgave, not forgetting, but releasing the burden. Yet betrayal lurked. Victor, learning of Elena's reconciliation, disowned her too, cutting financial ties. She confided in Niles, who helped her navigate independence. The act solidified their sibling bond, but Victor's final jab, a lawsuit alleging Foundation mismanagement, forced another legal battle. "He's dying bitter," Sarah advised. The case dismissed quickly, but the emotional toll lingered. Through it all, Niles and Jamie's love deepened, tempered by trials. They adopted a rescue dog, symbolizing new beginnings. Evenings spent walking it, discussing dreams beyond drama. "We've paid our dues," Jamie said one sunset. Niles agreed, but knew life's unpredictability. The Foundation expanded, impacting thousands, a legacy born from pain. As Victor passed away quietly, Niles attended the funeral from afar, a silent observer. No inheritance drama this time, just quiet reflection on cycles of hate and hope. The experience prompted Niles to write a memoir, pouring out the saga's lessons. Publishing it felt liberating, closing a chapter while opening debates on family, forgiveness, and the cost of authenticity. The memoir's release catapulted Niles into the literary spotlight, book tours crisscrossing America. Jamie accompanied him selectively, balancing support with his own pursuits, a master's in social work, funded by their stability. "I'm proud of you," Jamie said at a signing in New York, but his eyes betrayed fatigue from constant travel. Niles noticed promising downtime. "After this, we focus on us." Critics lauded the book for its raw honesty, but detractors labeled it exploitative. A particularly harsh review questioned Niles's motives. Is this atonement or opportunism? The words echoed his insecurities, triggering a spiral. In a hotel room alone, he called Jamie in tears. What if they're right? Jamie soothed. You've turned pain into purpose. That's heroism. Elena, now integral to the Foundation, co-authored op-eds defending the narrative. Their collaboration fostered genuine kinship, but Jamie remained cautious. She's changed, but watch your back. Tensions peaked when Elena suggested expanding the Foundation nationally, requiring Niles's increased involvement. Jamie objected. This pulls you away more. The disagreement highlighted evolving dynamics. Niles thriving in activism, Jamie craving normalcy. A moral dilemma arose when a donor, a wealthy conservative, offered millions with strings. Toned down radical advocacy. Niles agonized funds could help countless youth, but at what ethical cost? Jamie urged rejection. Don't compromise our values. Elena, pragmatic, saw potential. Debates raged in board meetings, Niles caught in the crossfire. Ultimately, he declined, prioritizing integrity. We fought too hard to sell out. The choice alienated some allies but reinforced their core. Personal reckonings deepened. Jamie confronted his own past in therapy, unearthing abandonment issues fueling jealousy. I fear losing you to this life, he admitted. Niles reassured, scaling back commitments. They renewed vows privately, recommitting amid life's flux. Society's shifts influenced their story, legal wins for queer rights, but persistent backlashes. A school district banned Niles's book, sparking protests. He spoke at rallies, voice amplified. Jamie joined, finding his activism voice. We're a team, he said, hand in hand on stage, but damage from years accrued. Niles's health faltered, stress-induced migraines, anxiety attacks. Jamie insisted on a sabbatical, whisking him to Hawaii for rest. There, unplugged, they rediscovered joy. Snorkeling, stargazing, intimate talks. This is what matters, Niles realized. Returning refreshed, they implemented boundaries, delegating to Elena, prioritizing date nights. A shocking revelation surfaced via an old family friend. Richard had known about Niles's relationship earlier, secretly supporting from afar via anonymous donations to queer causes. The discovery reframed his father's legacy, not perfect, but evolving. Niles shared it in a TED Talk, inspiring audiences. Change comes late, but it's never too late. Elena's transformation culminated in her coming out as bisexual, confiding in Niles first. Your courage gave me mine. He supported her through the fallout. Some relatives shunned her, mirroring his experience. Jamie warmed to her, seeing parallels. The trio formed an unlikely alliance, strengthening the Foundation. As the Foundation celebrated its 5th anniversary, Niles reflected on the Odyssey. From dissownment to empowerment, each step exacted a toll. Lost innocence, strained bonds, personal sacrifices. Yet, gains outweighed, lives touched, prejudices challenged. Jamie, by his side, whispered, "We've built something beautiful from the ruins." The evening ended with a toast to resilience, but Niles pondered the ongoing cost. Was the fight eternal, or could they finally rest? The question lingered as they danced under the stars. Love their anchor in uncertainty. Decades later, Niles and Jamie sat on their porch, graying hair testament to time's passage. The Foundation had grown into a national force, Elena at the helm after Niles's retirement. Their home buzzed with visits from Ments, young queer adults they'd housed during crises. You've saved us, one said. Niles smiled. You saved yourselves. We just lit the path. Reflecting on the journey, Niles often revisited pivotal choices. Fighting the will, rejecting compromises, forgiving Elena. Each carried consequences, alliances forged, enmities enduring. Jamie's health scare, a mild heart attack, prompted reevaluation. We've given enough, Jamie said post-recovery. They traveled, savoring freedom earned through strife. Society evolved unevenly, marriage equality nationwide, but rising anti-LGBTQ+ legislation in states. Niles advocated quietly, writing editorials. Jamie volunteered locally, mentoring at-risk youth. Their story inspired a biopic, which they consulted on, ensuring authenticity. Watching the premiere, tears flowed, reliving pain, celebrating triumph. Elena's family grew. She married a woman, adopting children. Holidays united them. A patchwork family healed from fractures. Who'd have thought? Elena mused at Thanksgiving. Niles replied, "Love finds a way if we let it." But scars remained. Nightmares of the trial occasionally woke Niles. Jamie's trust issues flared under stress. They navigated with grace, therapy a lifelong tool. "No regrets," Niles affirmed. Jamie nodded. The price was high, but worth it. In quiet moments, Niles pondered morality's gray areas. Was claiming the inheritance selfish or rightful? Did forgiving betrayals weaken justice, or embody it? These questions fueled discussions with Mentz, sparking debates. As suns set on their life together, Niles penned a final letter to future generations. "Embrace your truth, but weigh the costs. Love demands sacrifice. Society, change." Jamie added, "And never stop fighting. For yourself, for us all." Their story closed not in resolution, but ongoing legacy. A beacon for those wrestling similar demons. In the end, they found peace not in perfection, but perseverance. Was Niles right to fight for the inheritance, knowing the profound damage it would cause to his family and relationship, or should he have walked away to preserve what little peace remained?